Hey, Misfits Managed Nation. Welcome to tonight's episode. This is your boy, Coach G. Hey, I'm all by myself tonight. Yeah. Lauren, my co host, was not available. Had some other things tonight and she couldn't make it, but the show must go on. So we had a powerful packed event episode last week that I was really excited about when you fall. And we threw some nuggets at you last week. So I'm hoping that you're still chewing all on that from last week. But oh my goodness, do we have round two ready for you tonight? And no, it's not round two of when you fall. It's round two of our special and unique and powerful guest, Abigail Unfred, that was here just a few weeks ago. She was slated to be with us last week, but some emergency things happened with her family that she's going to share a little bit today. But boy, am I excited to hear her story tonight as she unpacks it live here on Misfits Managed Nation. So, Misfits Managed, my people, Misfits Managed Nation out there, like, subscribe, and share. Share, subscribe, and like. Tell a friend. We're going live. This is a powerful story. So share this with your friends, your family. Get them on here tonight. We want you to be interactive. We want you to hear her story. We want you to interact with her as she shares. We'll pause and recognize you and let you ask questions so we can get those answered. So I'm super excited. I don't want to waste any more time because I want to give her all the time that we have tonight. If you would welcome with me, Misfits Managed Nation, Abigail Unfred.
Hey, hey, man, how are you?
What's up, sis?
Oh, man, just living life to my
Yep.
full potential today.
I think you got a little extra juice going on today. Look at you, all excited.
Yes, yes, I put some mousse in my hair so I wouldn't have like this little flyer, and I even put on some mascara. Yeah,
She coming in here looking all fly.
my shirt is clean. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Well,
that's a biggie.
that's for now. Because where's Belle?
Right, right. Yeah, we're on a time. We're on time. We're on her time.
I know. Belle let us know. That was 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, yeah. She's like, I'm tired. I'm ready for bed, Mom. You're done. You're
Belle,
done. That's it.
that's a wrap.
Yep.
Hey, so before we get started, I gotta say, I know I've told you this personally, but before you get started, because I know some of this stuff, but girl, I can't tell you how proud I am of you and just watching you literally evolve right before my eyes. I mean, I'm thinking back to the day I met you and you were in relationship, and I'm like, wow, this is a obviously beautiful young lady, but she's powerful. I loved how you guys interacted, but man, I didn't realize the all behind scenes stuff that was going on with that. But knowing the information now and just watching how you have transformed your life, seized moments, had some dark times, you've learned some jewels of the journey that you picked up along the way. That's one of our words here.
They're in my pocket.
Right. But I love that they're not just in your pocket, that at the appropriate time and hour, you have learned and matured on when to pull them out and use them. So, your secret sauce, we want to hear about that tonight. So, I know we're going to talk about surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a hard word for so many people to deal with. So,
Oh, it
what
is.
in your way or your world or your thought process, I guess let's start with that. What does surrender look like?
It changes every day. It changes every day because I still very much want to hold on to comfortable things and comfortable places and comfortable people. And in just the last few weeks since I seen you last, me and you, we rock with each other on and off a podcast. So you kind of already know what's been happening in my life. But just in the last 2 weeks, experiencing Isabel going into the hospital. We were on oxygen for multiple days, sleep exhaustion, trying to control. And I mean, surrender for me is this constant trying to control the uncontrollable.
Okay.
And I
And
have to keep
Isabel's how old again?
7.
Okay. So
Yeah.
kind of help everybody understand your dynamic. You're single mom raising two young girls on your own, but
I like the word solo. I'm single by choice, but solo. I am a solo
I know that.
provider.
Just look at her.
But I'm a solo provider, and our situation is the father of my kids has cancer, and that has led him to not be able to help with anything. And instead of taking the bitter baby mama role, I decided to just let God have control over this vehicle because I don't. And with that, I've got my 2 girls, and I love them more than anything. Giselle is 9, going on 19, and she's got an opinion about everything.
She is.
I've got my hands full. And then there's Isabel, and she's kind of like our teddy bear sometimes, but she's a Sour Patch Kid. She'll just like bite you out of nowhere because you're not listening to her. In fact, we had like a scare today where she decided that she was going to go sleep underneath the bed, and we couldn't find her. We couldn't find her for like a solid, 20 minutes, and we're all freaking out. Like, where's Isabel? Oh, she's under the bed asleep, dude. Oh my gosh, and I was stuff like that where you just have to like just what are you gonna do? Cry about it? Like it you won't be able to cry for more than 5 minutes before there's more chaos. And so a few years ago, and I talk about this part of my story a lot with like the AYPN group and stuff, but 5 or 6
There's
like
fucking girl Jazzy, boy.
right.
What's up, Jazz?
You say hi?
What's up, love?
Bella ran away.
Here comes the whole crew. She did not. But so 5 or 6 years ago, my experience was I was trying so hard to hold on to what I thought was what was meant for my life. I had this picture in my head that I had to be married to the father of my kids, that I had to own a business, that I had to do. I mean, like I just had a checklist that if I didn't achieve these things, and most of them were based on finances, like I've been a breadwinner and a moneymaker and a hustler since I could walk. And so I've always found a way to just make the money. And so I connected that money to my value, and so I started to go in this dark place and I was no longer producing all of this money, I was no longer able to do this or this or this. I didn't feel whole. And that's where God was like, okay, you're ready now, you're ready, because you should never have linked your value that I see you to your finances. That bank account I can empty in a day, baby.
Right.
One swoop, empty in a day. And those materials that you love so much that you're holding on to and you keep moving from place to place, I'm going to take that from you. And so we got out of the hospital last Thursday, and I had rented a truck on Friday, moved us on Saturday and Sunday, and my tribe helped me out. It wasn't just me. I have people around me that love me and love my kids. And even if it was just emotional support, like you had prior arrangements, you couldn't like jump on my manic train, but you still hit me with the, hey girl, I hope it's going good, and within 2 days, I had decided that I only wanted this much stuff. And when I say this much, we have compacted our very, very personal items into one bedroom, and that everything else must go. Okay. My value is not linked to possessions. My value is not linked to a bank account or money or what I can do for somebody else. It's what I'm just doing it by breathing. And that took a lot for me to like come to the realization is just for me being alive and speaking, and telling people it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Like 4 or 5 years ago, I was making $10,000 a month, and my entire world was wrapped around, what are we gonna do on Friday? We got to get stuff for the Chiefs game, and if we don't, then what's. And now it's such a freeing experience, and it didn't come easily. I mean, there was a lot of like, come on, God, I just want this one thing. Let me keep it. Let me keep this one thing. And I think the experience for me, and again, it's never ending. There's a never ending of, I have to surrender this part. I have to surrender this part, because each part I'm giving up is God putting something in place of it.
That's so good.
So
So
I'm
good.
giving up these possessions, these worldly possessions that I thought were so important, and God's giving me peace because I'm no longer attached to those things. And I had a moment in the hospital with my daughter. It was like and I'm gonna try my hardest not to tell this without crying, but it was like day 3 or 4 where we're sleep exhausted. And I'm at this point, I was optimistic all the way up to like day 4. And then day 4, she's still not eating, she's still not having oxygen. And I'm like, what am I going to do if this becomes a normal thing for us? That's always in the back of my head, like, okay, well, what's next? Because I have to make a plan. And
That was
I'm
one of the days I checked on you. I know, because I could feel that.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I was just in tears, and I was crying, and I just couldn't stop myself from crying because I had no control. I have no control over what's happening with my child right now. And man, I think a lot of parents can relate to that. Like, everything else falls to the wayside when there's something wrong with your baby. And
Mm-hmm.
so I went for a walk. I was there at the hospital by myself. Belle fell asleep, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for a walk. And I walked down to my minivan and sat there for a second and tried to collect myself, because I was like, I'm so tired of crying in front of these nurses. They probably think I mean, they don't. The nurses at Children's Mercy
Yeah.
are fantastic,
Yeah.
but that's my own insecurities. I'm like, oh, I'm not a crier. Like, yeah, I'm fine, when they come around. And so I went down to my van, and my friend Angie, like within a month or so ago, she gave me a Bible that fits perfectly, like right in the console of my van. And it was sitting there staring at me. And I was like,
I
you
remember.
say, yeah, you say, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And you look up, and it's like, okay, well, the answer's right there. Like, maybe he knows something. So what's the worst, So I opened my Bible,
Was the
and
second.
2 Kings 4:44. And I know everyone always says like, oh, angel numbers, and which I think is cool. When I see 333 on the thing, I'm like, oh, God's thinking of me. But so I opened it up, and you're gonna have to correct me if I say it wrong, but this is what it meant to me and what I read. And it was just, you're not only going to eat, Abigail, but you will have leftovers.
Hmm. Pause there for a second, because I want you to understand we're only not even 15 minutes into this, and your tribe is here, because I want to recognize them. The support that you need is here. So Shannon is here, and I know
Hey,
she's
mama.
her comments. Um, um,
How come I can't see the comments? That's not fair.
oh yeah, just go to your comment section.
I'm sorry. I should be more. There we go.
Yeah,
Hi,
Mike is here.
everyone. That's awesome. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I'm with it now. I'm with it. I know how to do that now. Look, you
yeah.
learn something new every day.
I know there's other people here, and they just don't jump in the comments. But I just wanted you to know your tribe is here. Obviously, your girls are there with you too. So Jazzy in particular. But what's up, little mama?
Hello. She is living her best life. So we moved in with my grandparents. And it's gonna be a situation that's beautiful on all ends. They need me, I need them on an emotional basis. And that's, again, that's God, like, I'm not kicking and screaming. I'm not saying, oh, I have to have this or that. I'm just letting God like lead me into this. And we've experienced so much change. And I guess for our family, like, again, it always comes back to health. Every time that I start to lose focus on the importance of what's going on, something happens to Belle, something happens to me, where our health is affected. And it's like God just, snapping at me like, come on, sis, come on. Like, you're over here worried about your paycheck. You're over here worried about paying this bill, this person, and it's all going to be okay. You're going to eat. You're going to eat. And not only will you eat, I promised you would have leftovers to feed everybody else.
So in
You
that
know,
moment, reading that scripture, what was the emotion you felt? Was it surprise, amazement? Because people believe that God doesn't exist. That He's just some cosmic being that doesn't care about our daily lives, our daily activities. the word talks about the sparrow being fed every day. And there's different scriptures and stories in the Bible where God provided for different people in miraculous ways. So you proved real time that we can seek out God and ask a simple question, and He give us a simple answer. If we slow down and listen, the answers are always there. So walk us through how you felt right there.
Well, it didn't. It did not help me from stop crying. I did not stop crying when I read that. In fact,
Okay,
I bawled like a baby for like a solid 5 to 10 minutes, because I needed to. You know, I spent
right.
4 days cooped up and telling myself like everything's fine, like everything's gonna be fine, Abigail. I always try to not over, because then that energy transfers to my baby. If I'm hyped up and anxious and all this stuff, no, I want to be calm, cool, and collective. And that's something I've had to learn with the surrendering too. Is you can't always be calm, cool, and collective.
Well,
You
do
know,
you realize the lesson that you just said that you taught yourself? Because
no,
if you hadn't have slowed down, that was part of the surrender, was
yeah.
surrendering that feeling and emotion. Had you not surrendered that feeling and emotion, how do you pass peace to your girl?
Right. Right. I mean, and I grew up in chaos. I spent many years, whether that be with partners or shit myself. Sometimes I was chaos. I was the storm,
Mhm.
in other people's lives, and I didn't realize that. I just constantly like, hey, just whatever it was. I realized like it wasn't always that were storms happening around me, and you know, I spoke a little bit about this in our last show, but I had a little bit of a God complex, where I thought like, because I believed in God, that nothing was going to go wrong in my life, right? Everything was going to be fine. I had a business, I had a house, I had assets, I had, like I was, and so I was more focused on everybody's problems around me, and that would keep me distracted, like I could worry about everybody else's problems and their storms. And it took me a long time to realize that even me intervening in God's plan for other people was the storm. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
I had to have that epiphany at 30 years old, because I was like, wait, hold on. God, you're telling me that I'm wrong for doing that? I'm the one that should have like kept my hands to myself and just, like I should have, but you don't know until you know. I say that all the time. And my friends are probably, anyone that's watching is like, you don't know until you know. And I have to just remind myself that, um, you got to learn it every day in a new way, and to not be so hard when you don't know. If you come from chaos, then how do you bring peace to your children?
Right.
By trying every wrong light bulb.
But
And to,
so you've done a great job of articulating all these things that you had, and you were in control, you had all this surplus, but now you have a new reality. But then God steps in and says, not only will you eat, but you will have leftovers. Speak into that part, because there's some significant things that have happened in your life that are different than the life you had before. But I would say the eating now is brings more peace.
it this year for me, again, it was it started when finances start going downhill, and you're hemorrhaging money, and I was hemorrhaging money trying to keep a business alive, that God was like, you're done, sit it down. And I was like, but I don't know what else I'm gonna do. But you're done. Oh, I'm gonna just one more, just one, let me just do one more, you're done. And he just kept like, I have to I felt like a child, and that was the thing for me, was, yeah, to step into this completely new reality. I had to let go of the finances, let go of what I thought was this this image, to be who I needed to be for who I am now, for
Are
who
you
we are today.
are you able to articulate the steps? Because you basically threw away the old wineskins, stepped out, launched into the deep, and had faith as God created and poured new wineskins. But so what does that look like for you? I mean, what were your steps?
Well, my steps were, I first had to isolate myself. And I didn't intentionally seek that out, and it kind of just happened. But I think my steps, that was the first thing, was I had to go through this darkness, but I knew I had to do that alone. I didn't want anyone to see this as I was remangled. You know, I felt mangled. And so I isolated myself. I cut off the people first that did not serve any greater good for my children. That was like, okay, well, if they're not going to add value to my kids' life, why are they in mine?
Right.
And
Right.
so I had to isolate myself into that and really like come back to my roots. You know, my grandparents have been the only consistent battlefield I've had, you know, other than God, my whole life. And so I had to come back home essentially to rebuild. And that was that was most of the surrendering, was just like, you know, you don't ever want to have to like step back or like, but when everything comes crumbling down, you have to. And so my steps was isolation really
Okay.
helps me, because
Thank
then
you. I
I
want
would,
you to recap because you went through that so fast. I want to
I know.
make sure they get those steps.
So once you isolate, you're alone. You're completely alone. You don't think anyone understands you. They don't understand what you're personally experiencing. And then when after I isolated, I
Well,
decided, okay.
in your isolation, what happened? I would say for me, when I've had situations or spaces or time of isolation, initially there was fear and anxiety, but as I settled in that isolation, it brought peace. It brought clarity. Is that what happened with you?
I would say clarity, and I got so much closer to God. Like I felt like I was playing, like God was the girl in high school for a long time that like, oh, we're friends, you know. But then when you're all alone and all you have is God, that's all you have. And you know, I started reading the Bible more. I started taking it more seriously, my own salvation, which is salvation is protecting yourself. I had to look up the word because I wanted to really bite into it. And your salvation is protecting yourself. And I was like, oh, wow. So seeking salvation is protecting myself from harmful things. Okay. So yeah, we're on the same page, God. You want me to be, you know, saved. And I want to be away from things that are driving me crazy. And, but part of that too is like, it wasn't just I stopped going out and I stopped drinking. It was that I made a conscious decision to be celibate. You know, there's a lot of teachings. I won't go into a long, you know, some people are like, Abigail, chill. But celibacy is, I think, really important to clear your mind. We live in a culture of where people are constantly intermingling energies. You don't even know which person gave you the bad stone. You got bad kidney stones now. You're infected with toxins, and you don't know what you need to get rid of because you got so many people around you.
Okay.
So
Come on. So isolation now turns into purging of what's the word I want to use? Maybe evil spirit. So it brought a clarity to your mind that you pushed away substances that might
yep,
alter your mind and your thought process, people that might alter and bring negative energy, and then probably the most powerful soul tie of them all is sex.
yeah.
So it allowed you to center yourself and cleanse your temple and really be in alignment with the Lord. Powerful.
Which, you know, it's and I feel like in this I'm 30, so you know, everyone in my generation, it's really hit and miss. I think there's a lot more people that are feeling what I'm feeling, that are having that moment of they have to, you know, like, no, it's no longer what they, you know, I don't know what I'm trying to say as far as that. I'm trying to say is I can see that I'm not the only one out there feeling this way or needing that cleanse. And so once I got through that cleanse, it was like, all right, it's battle mode now.
Come
Now
on.
I'm clean. You know what I'm saying? Warriors don't do that. None of the freaky deaky before battle. And I'm going into war.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true. That's warrior code. That's
Yeah.
straight up warrior code. Hey, Mark.
Boxers, warriors, athletes, none of them. You getting
Yeah.
ready for a big fight, and I knew it. God was mentally and physically and spiritually preparing me for that fight, and that's why he was like, nobody around you can have this armor but you. I'm giving this armor to you.
I'll show him something.
But I want you to see some impact real quick. So
I'm making pink eggs.
Okay. Okay, Mama. She made pink eggs.
I was like, what the heck? But I want you to see, Mark, if you're listening, Shannon's comment at 8:18. If you could post that real quick. I know Mark is multitasking, producing our show and another show right now, but maybe I'll just read it. Shannon at 8:18 says, "You are not alone. Trust me. I don't have kids, but God disrupted my entire life just to talk to me. And this peculiar journey is only half over." So just like your situation. And then I wanted to address Micah's comment. There's the one from Shannon. Then Micah's comment at 8:27.
Well,
Food is art is Mike Norman. Yes,
you got the cheese on the floor.
the powerhouse story, but that one, girl, you put together a puzzle for me. Salvation equals protection. I would say that's a jewel of the journey.
Yeah.
Only learned in darkness. Those are lessons you can't learn any other place but darkness.
Yeah.
So keep going.
No, Giselle. Please sit down right there. So I mean, after you've been isolated and now you're ready for battle. I'm armored up. And I started getting closer with other people like yourself. God just kept bringing people around me that would fill my cup. I'm over here. I'm thinking. I remember sitting. I had just gone through a big experience last year with my last partner, and it was at the end of the year and everything. I'm sitting with Izzy. It was like January, I think, at my house talking about. I'm over here trying to like figure out, okay, what am I gonna do now? What am I gonna do now? And I remember Izzy just. I was telling her like I don't feel like I'm worthy of all of these like I was in a fashion show. Oh, well, it must have been February because I was in a fashion show in February. And it was just all these blessings that were like happening around me right when I am the darkest. That's what was so crazy was I'm over here shining on a runway, literally, and I don't like the word broken, but I'm just mangled. I'm mangled inside, and I'm still fighting with the surrendering of everything. And so once Giselle, she's gonna,
It's
guys,
okay.
she's
It's okay. It's okay.
Seeing what kids will do and everything. Abigail, I was listening as I'm working at the Hey Chad, the cultural arts center that I work at, and I just had to share something with you. I don't know why I was called to share this with you, but I was talking to a new friend of mine, and I know that I think the last time you were on, I mentioned that I've got some friends that are in that tattoo space and everything, and I was actually trying to find out the meanings of the tattoos in their life and everything, and they actually shared with me that those tattoos were when they were in a broken space and all along those lines. So they're actually doing some serious healing because I was trying to figure out the snakes and some of the other emblems that were on their body tattoos. Like I said, we become friends and everything along those lines. But I just felt it was kind of moving that they shared with me that those tattoos were not who they are now, but they were in a broken space, but they still recognized the art of the tattoo. So they weren't necessarily going to get rid of the tattoo, but they also understood what was going on in their life when they got the tattoo. So, and the fact that they felt comfortable enough with me to share that was when the tattoos came in their life, was when it was in a broken space, was just something I felt that I had to share with you because I saw the tattoos on your arm. And like I said, that was a new friend and everything, but I would just moved it because not everybody wants to share where they are or what's going on in their life. So just the fact that they opened up that little bit to me to tell me that they were willing to open up and say that this was when I was in a dark place when I got these particular tattoos made and everything. So the fact that they were willing to open up, because they've been opening up to me about a lot of things, was just moving to me. So I'm just going to share that with you.
Yeah, no, and I would agree with that. So I'm very close with the tattoo artist that I have, and I think tattoo, huh?
Hook your brother up.
Yeah. Hey, shout out Lauren Smith, beautiful body and tattoo.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And so, but my tattoos, I mean, a lot of them. So, I mean, I'm transparent with everybody, including my children. My kid has a, ongoing joke because I have two different tattoos that symbolize two different, loves in my life. You know, and do I want that for my children? No, but, and that was something I had to, like, why would you do that? You know what I mean? Why would you? And it comes really back to the whole surrender. You know, like I wanted them to know my dedication to them so much that I was willing to ink my skin for it. You know, I was willing to brand myself to show somebody love that I didn't have for myself.
Right.
I did it. Why would you brand your skin with someone else's mark if you truly had nothing to prove? You know, so I can really relate. I mean, I do have some great stories with mine. But in some of them too, I just wanted daily reminders that it's going to be okay. You know, everyone always asks what the one on my ear is, and I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yep, we see.
But this is the newest one I've got. I got it this year to symbolize, you know, and I think tattoo is very therapeutic, and like it is a journey. You can kind of look over the years, you know, and see like, oh, but the symbolism of this is it's a yin yang sign with a semicolon because I really felt like I wasn't gonna make it through this war. I didn't feel like that, and so I was sitting with my friend Lauren, and I explained to him kind of what I was feeling, and like just talking to him about life and stuff. Like we always have been able to just be really open with each other. And you know, I was like, man, you gotta take the good and the bad if you're gonna make it out alive. And he was like, ooh, and that's how, you know. And so it's just it's somewhat artistic, but somewhat expressive because it's like I can look at this every day in the mirror and remind myself I gotta take the good with the bad, you know.
No, definitely. And just really quickly, because I think I've mentioned this to Coach before, and like I said, it's a friendship. Who knows where that friendship is going because it's a new friendship and everything. But if somebody had come 10, 15 years ago, because I can sometimes be somewhat straight-laced, not all the way straight-laced, but somewhat straight-laced, and if somebody said, Mark, that you're going to have a friendship with somebody that is both a tattoo artist and it has been in the pen, I probably would have laughed at them and all along those lines. But we've actually developed a wonderful friendship. And like I said, who knows where the friendship will go? It could be leading to something permanent, could be leading who knows where. But just the fact that people oftentimes write off people for their past, and I was probably going to do that as well. But I'm going like, hey, we all make mistakes. I made errors in my life and everything. So you can't write off somebody just because they made a mistake in their life, and we're doing what in their description of it sounds like total self-defense, but it did cost them some prison time and everything.
Yeah,
so like I said, and we all make mistakes, and I know a lot of people were willing to write off folks, but then I thought of a friend of mine who is deeply married and been married for a number of years, but Mike Anderson does a thing here in Durham, North Carolina called Polished Souls. He served time. I want to say it was for murder, or if not murder, definitely manslaughter and all along those lines. But he and his wife, who is a evangelical type, a Christian type and everything, they've been together for years, and he's traveled the world to kind of get kids out of that dark space and everything because he's been there. So he's been down there, and he's been
it's
there
much easier to put the ladder down when you know how deep that they are. Right. And sometimes I talk to complete strangers and they just they tell me all of these things because they can see it on me. You know, they can feel it on me.
Well, hey, I want to pivot you back into your point where you're saying, God, not only are you going to eat, but they're leftovers. So it clearly sounds like God shifted and rearranged so many different things. And out of that isolation, you entered a place where you're not only eating, obviously different food.
Mm-hmm. Yep, different food.
And I didn't even venture to say higher quality food.
Yes, I would agree with that statement.
So, now talk about the leftovers.
So I truly believe that God's promise to me is, I have a new vision, in my head. And I'm sure just saying it out loud, speaking life into it, right. It's still never going to be the picture in my head. And that's something I'll always have to fight through. And a lot of people will have to just be like, okay, God's picture might not look nothing like yours, but to have leftovers to me is to have health. To be able to see my kids grow to full life, and have experienced children, experience college, whatever they want to experience. I want to be present for it. And that's what leftovers is to me, is to even just have that opportunity. And again, that few years ago, that would have been financially based. My answer would have been based on what is leftovers. Well, there are goals I have. I tell everybody I speak into existence, I'm gonna have land, and I'm gonna have a container home on it, and I'm gonna have this, and like, these are my goals. But I don't think that's at all the leftovers that God is promising me. I don't think he's promising me land or like my wants and desires. I think God's just promising me that I'm gonna be okay regardless. Regardless, my belly is never gonna ache because I have him. I'm never going to go without. And like, even watching my child, go through what she was going through last week, and me having no control. And I know I was scared. I know I was sad, and I was, like, I had a lot of emotions going on, but I think I was never afraid that he wasn't going to take us through it. I was more just afraid that I wasn't the one in control of it, that I wasn't the one that was like, okay, well, we have things to do tomorrow. So if you could just hurry this health up and we could get back on schedule, that would be great. And I think that's,
yeah, it's powerful, the lessons that you learned in that isolation.
yeah.
Just how we don't know the end from the beginning, but God knew that on that date, Belle was going to get sick and be hospitalized. So there was lessons he had to pour inside of you and teach you to prepare you for that day.
Well, and what's crazy too is I had planned, so a month prior to that, I had planned to go down to Wichita and see Jelly Roll, one of my favorite. I haven't been to a concert in years, since before I got sober. A good friend of mine, she was like, dude, we're going to do it. You're coming with me. And I was like, okay, I'll go, And so we planned out this whole thing. And, I was just like, I deserve this. It's been a hard year. I deserve this. And it's like, we went into the hospital 2 days before, and we got out the day after the event. And again, it was linked to why I was stressing so hard. It was linked to finances. I'm like, my friend's not going to be able to get her money back because at this point she doesn't want to go. She's like, I'm not going if you're not going. And I'm like, dude, we have front row tickets.
That's a good friend.
Yeah. And I was like, no, take your dude, take it anyway. So, it's just so funny how things like that, you're just constantly, you not just have big moments of like her health and what we were experiencing in the hospital, but you have those little moments where God's like, now I told you, now sit down. I told you to sit down.
Okay, but back to your point on finances, because you keep talking about finances, but he knows your DNA. I think one of the things you haven't mentioned is that you haven't missed a beat in finances because God turned a situation for you, a miracle, basically.
Oh, well, yeah.
For you that not only helps financially, but brought you peace.
Yeah.
That you can't put a price tag on. What happened?
So again, I owned my own company for 7 years, and then God was like, you can't do that anymore. And so I kept trying to beat my head against the wall and keep it above water. And then one day I just let go, and I kind of just stopped. I had to focus on my kids at that time for other reasons, but that got me behind. I was doing the photography every single night, trying to catch up, and trying to make this money, and then turned around and my kids were being drugged through the hustle.
So what was the cost of the hustle?
My kids, their peace. Jazzy kind of looked up to me one day and was like, because I was working during the day and then going to the studio every single night, booking people every single night and bringing my babies with me and thinking like, oh, they're seeing their mama hustle. No, they're tired.
Yeah.
They're tired. They might see my hustle in 35 years or something, when I have a grandbaby on my lap, but this is their life too. And I had to really take that into consideration, is that the money ain't worth the time. You don't, and the people that genuinely value you, it was never about the money in the first place. That as far as like when I started spreading out my calendar and like not trying to stack, I realized again that was kind of right after the isolation. I'm bringing in my tribe, but then I'd get like one person close to me that God's like, no, I didn't approve them at the door. Why are they in here? And I'm like, oh God, they're cool. We're cool. And, they're gonna pay me. And God's like, no, they were not pre-approved. They need to go. And these are you get who I give to you, not who you go pick. Yeah, and so that was a huge eye opener too. Because I just kept wanting to go back to the old habits. I kept wanting what was comfortable for me was the sense of security of the finances and things like that. And so I was working for like a solid 6 months. I was traveling all the time. I was away from my kids. I worked with equipment auctions for almost 9 years. Whether I was an affiliate through them. And when I say work with them, my company that I had was an affiliate through them. So they're like the Big Daddy platform. And then underneath them, we have an array of affiliates. And I was one of the affiliates, and I specialized in antiques and estates and things like that. And that was what my bread and butter was for a long time. Whereas my good friend and one of my mentors, John, him and my best friend, Clara, which is also a part of the Equipment team, they saw me breaking down at work because I'm missing my kids, and they saw that that the money was, I didn't give a shit I'm sorry. I didn't give none of those, but I didn't care, whether I was, and it was just like, okay, I made enough to pay the bill, but I never got to see the kid or the kids. And they were going through it with their dad. So their dad was diagnosed in May of this year. And that's scary for any kid. Right. And then for me to be having to work and do this extra hustle and things like that, for me thinking this is helping us get ahead, and it's emotionally putting us behind. And so at what cost is that,
Yep. I think Shannon just said that. It's definitely a priority shift that you had to pick, that was God ordained, and the fruit, that's the leftovers that you're talking about. So let's pivot again. So Belle is in the hospital. She is healed and restored, and you're ready to come home, and you come home to more chaos, and now you've got a shift. So I think my note here says, coming home to hyperspeed of God, pushing me into the next chapter, willing or not.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
So it looked like that me and my grandparents have been talking for a while now, about what next steps would be for our future and things like that. And I knew that I wanted again to get land and build a house and do all of these things, but that's what I started to say was my good friend John and Clara. After 8 years, I was given a position. Yeah, I was given a position. I was given a salary, and I felt like now I am able to be home with my kids. Now I'm able to budget, and God's like, the finances, they're not what they were, but that doesn't matter to me anymore. I have enough. I have enough for what we need, and then time, which is the most valuable part of the whole equation, is my time is back to tuck them in at night and do these things with them and be present in their life.
Yeah. Put a price tag on, right?
Can't put a price tag on it. But the pivot back to like coming home from the hospital, and we had a situation where our landlord had been in our home while we were in the hospital. And mind you, dealing with kids for 2.5, 3 weeks. Jazzy had strep. Then we had this, then we had that. Would I say my home was filthy? No. Was it lived in? Yes. And then it wasn't. It was lived in for 2 weeks with chaos because of our situation, and then it went for a whole week of just sat there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
we were in the hospital, it just sat there in the minutes. And so to come home and she was like, I can't do this anymore. You need to leave. You need to move out. She's like, this is affecting my spirit. And I highly respect this woman. And so I was like, okay, I can feel my spirit affecting your spirit because my spirit is wrong too. I'm off too, and I know this. And so God, that's what happened. That's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the truck tomorrow. I'll go get the truck tomorrow, and I'm just gonna let God do what God does, and I'm gonna give everything away, and we're just gonna make this work, And for the first time, it wasn't about finances. It wasn't about, like, oh, it's not that I couldn't go get another place today. I could. Thank God. Like I can afford to go do what I want, but to have this time with my kids and my grandparents under the same roof, that's all. That is my leftovers. That is what I want more than anything, was to have the beginning and end of me right here.
That was so good. I wanted to leave enough time. We're down to about 14 minutes, I think. 10 minutes or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, man, this last point you gave me just blows my mind. Just blows my mind. So you said, every time I try to get comfortable, everything crumbles because God doesn't intend for me to be comfortable.
Yeah.
His plan is much bigger than my suffering or my health.
Well, the health was the last was a edit up top.
Okay.
But
So every time I try to get comfortable, let's just break that in pieces. Every time I try to get comfortable, everything crumbles.
yeah, I kept going back to that image over and over with the father of my kids. I wanted the white picket fence, and I wanted the marriage, what I thought marriage was, and this and that. And then I jump out of that 10-year relationship into another relationship which was unhealthy in another way. And that, again, I'm shooting for that. I'm trying to like just build a bear at this point. Let me build a bear, my family and my white picket fence. And I'll, not to say like I just picked up anybody. I had love for both of my previous partners, but it was like I had to let go of the picture. And that goes, I had to surrender to that picture in my head and know that even what I'm going through right now, this suffering is optional. That part of it, and that's why I put it in quotations, because suffering is optional. And, whether you're going to be, well, I guess I'll go. He said something about tattoos. When I was 16 years old, I got a huge, ugly tattoo on my back that says pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. It's big and it's bulky and it's kind of off-centered, but I felt that at that moment, and I still feel that today. I still feel that 15 years later, that God has no intention of causing my suffering, and that suffering is a perception. It is a perception of what you're going through in your life.
Would you say that suffering happens only because we resist the will of God?
Yeah. Yes, that's
learn hard lesson. My journey.
You can't tell anybody about it. They just got to go through it.
Come on.
And I mean, I've had my grandparents, I've been humbled recently, now being an adult living back with my grandparents, been humbled a lot, but, that's part of it, is just being able to take that step back and to be like, oh, okay, you have to, they've been telling me for years, like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. This is, go to church, Abigail, open your Bible, Abigail, and I'm like, I don't need to go to church to have a relationship with God. Like I said, me and God, we were friends,
Pretty cool.
but we weren't locked in like we are now.
Right.
We're not locked in. Now we're locked in. Now I can tell you his favorite color, and that's me. But
Mic drop right there.
Yeah, that was a serious mic drop. I had to pop in on that one. Hey, Abigail and Coach, I got to ask you a question because y'all were talking. I was listening while I'm breaking down from this concert we were having at Haytime and everything along those lines. But I sometimes wonder, and I don't know what your thoughts on this, Coach, or even Abigail, but is the I hate to put it this way, but is the American dream a myth? Because you were talking about that white picket fence, and I know that I've been caught up in that too, where you want the white picket fence, the 2.5 kids or whatever the average is now, and everything along those lines. And sometimes it's maybe putting too much pressure on us to go after that quote unquote American dream and everything along those lines. So I guess I'll start with you, Abigail. Do you sometimes think that it is maybe a little bit overrated and everything? Because I know that even myself, and I'm 62, have been caught up in that notion of wanting that the quote unquote wifey and the 2.5 kids and everything, even though at 62 that probably ain't happening. But who knows? Maybe I'll meet a younger woman and it will happen and everything. But I'm just wondering, is that American dream something that we are over committed to as Americans? And I know that the Pod TV, which y'all are on now, is a global network, so I think that it's even overrated in other countries as well. But I just wanted your take on that.
I would definitely say that the quote unquote American dream is man-made.
Yep.
It is a man-made, and they condition you. If you believe in that dream, you're settling for basic.
Right.
And that's kind of what I had to come to. Was I thought that to me, from where I grew up and came from, that was high up. But when you have God in your life, there is no ceiling anymore. So this American dream that you had, that you were shooting so high for and sacrificing time and love and energy for, it's misdirected. It's misdirected energy, and you're just capping yourself by even following a man-made dream. Because now, today, if you were to ask me, I always say my land, that house is going to get built next year and it's going to be beautiful. But if that's not what God intends for me, then I'm okay with that now, because it's his dream that I have to figure out and decipher on what he has planned for my life. And just knowing that I'm going to have to, every single time, it's going to be like, I don't know what I'm doing now. I just don't. I don't know what I'm doing because God's doing it for me.
God's doing it for you. And like you said, because you were saying that, I just thought to myself, because I think I mentioned to Coach once before that my dad has gone through some health problems. He just had a heart surgery, major heart surgery, and he's on the major road to recovery, and he's doing really well with his recovery. Sometimes things are not going as well as we would like and everything. But one of the things that he told me, and it's a conversation we've got to have, is he wants to have a conversation with me and my younger brother and my two nephews, because like I said, I don't have any kids and everything, but he wants us to sit down and figure out what we want to keep of his, because he knows that he is a mortal being, and this has definitely got him rethink about his own mortality and everything. And he knows that some of the things that he's kept, he may not be around forever, so he wants to know what we want to keep and all along those lines. And one of those things, to your point about land, is a piece of property he's got. And at one point he wanted to turn it into a retreat center, so he wants to see if we still want to turn it into a retreat center, because we're both into wellness, and I'm into the arts and stuff like that. But that's a conversation we got to figure out, is whether we want to sell that land, or maybe somebody else will build it, or whether we want to take up that dream of his and take up that mantle of his, either with him or without him. But that's something we're trying to figure out. But that's some property that is in our family line, and we got to figure out what we're going to do with it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that sounds like an adventure that if God will tell you what he wants you to do,
Right.
and like that kind of recap my whole thing. Was just like, I have moments like that with my friends where I'm like, I've been given this opportunity and I want to do this, and this looks like a good idea too, and maybe this, and then God just goes like a cat, you don't get any of it. None of that is what I wanted you to do.
Well,
And
but I want to salute you. I want to pause and salute you, because you did, and I guess I would say Western culture is your comment. You felt bad that you were taking a step back, but that's only a Western culture thought.
Yeah.
So in Eastern culture and other societies, that is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
Resting.
even you don't even leave your home until you're married.
Yeah.
to go lead and cleave with your husband. And if he's done his part, you walk into a better situation than what you had before. We
Yeah.
just do things backwards here. So I got to honor you. And I think God honored you because he knew exactly what you needed, what your grandparents needed, what your children needed. So you left a space of chaos where you were trying to control every narrative that came, and he plopped you right down in the middle of a place where there's nothing but peace. You get
Yeah.
to absorb wisdom, you get to provide support, care, and love, while support, care, and love is provided to you. Remember, I was saying the other day, one of the
Yeah.
things, my favorite thing that happened in this situation that you've moved back is now one of my things that I was like, remember, I was talking about, Lord, I got to figure out a way to get support for her.
Mm-hmm.
Now you
Yeah.
have daily, hourly support all around you that you can step away for, if it's just 5 minutes, to be by yourself, to breathe, to exhale. Man, I just am blown away by the details that God knew you needed, but even more so, God is going to be God. He's always going to do his part. But because you slowed down and listened, isolated yourself, remove the distractions, remove the toxins and the poisons, the people, the
I,
substances.
I can't hear. Is there a saxophone?
Oh, that might be me. I'll get that out of the way. That might be something in the background here. So hold on one second. We'll get that cleared out. But yeah, that was on this side. Let's see if we can get that out. It's actually a guitar. But yeah, there we go. Sorry about that.
Hey, sorry about. I didn't mean to call it saxophone.
No, that's okay.
No, no problem. You were doing good. Like I said, I was at the center, so that was in the background, and I didn't realize it was still going through and everything along
But
those lines.
because
But
you
since it did
slowed
interrupt you and
down,
everything, Coach, I had a question for you and for Abigail. And I know we're winding down, but I sometimes think that we don't listen as much as we should, because I know that it was probably 2 or 3 days ago, and I'm still trying to figure out the meaning of it. But I literally, my grandmother's been gone for probably 40, 50 years, but she was one of my mentors, and literally it was going back to her death and everything, but she appeared in a dream and everything, and that might have even been as her last days and everything along those lines. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I've heard people say that that's unresolved issues, that that's other things that could be going on, including her maybe trying to send a message and everything from beyond and
I
everything. So
believe in that. I believe in that. My mama talks to me all the time. I lost my mom when I was 19, and randomly I will get a dream about her, and it will be just something that she won't even talk to me. I'll know her presence is there, you know. And maybe sometimes that's the sign, is that person that meant so much to you is still there,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
well, Abby, close us out. You've given and illustrated, articulated a very powerful story that I know have blessed so many people tonight. And I've got to say thank you for your transparency and your authenticity, your honesty. But with all that being said, suffering, we would consider that word to be a bad thing, a
Mhm.
negative. And you, not to say that you haven't had some bad or negative or unfair, traumatizing things happen, but post those things, suffering, what does that word mean to you now? So, help our audience understand. Misfits Managed Nation is waiting to hear what does the backside of suffering look like?
It looks like a sunrise. It
I
does. It
almost
looks like
said
a
it, but
sunrise because I mean, anyone that has been in the darkness and seen, and felt that complete emptiness, and you're reaching for God and you're reaching for answers, and you're surrendering as much as you can. So the end of suffering looks like a sunrise, and it looks like everything's going to be okay. And you don't have to have all the answers to keep going. You don't have to have a plan to move your feet. I used to be, well, I'm still pretty impulsive, but I try to manage it a little bit better now. On the misvantage side of things, I try to manage my obsessions and stuff. But yeah, I think it's important to just know that it's the waves stop eventually, and the sun comes up, and you're gonna be okay. You're always gonna be okay. I actually have a couple events coming up. If anyone is interested, I will be a entrepreneur / judge on the panel for an entrepreneur and speaking event at the end of November. I'll have the dates posted for that, as well as I was invited to participate in a fundraiser charitable runway in the first week of December. So that's what I mean. Like, suffering comes and then so does opportunity, because now you can handle it. Did I lose you, Coach?
Trying to see if Coach is still there. If not, we might go out with one of our mental health spots and all along those lines. But he might have had some other things going on, so we'll give him a few minutes. Actually, I might play the mental health spot and see if he comes back. And then if he comes back, we'll play another mental health spot. So we'll play this and see if he comes back. And if he doesn't come back, I'll play the second one and we'll wrap the show. But we'll play this one right now because I think it's very appropriate to what y'all been talking about. And it's a young man and everything along those lines, unless you were ready to wrap already. So I was going to play the mental health spot, but I'll play it after you. Excellent.
Okay. No, thank you, Mark. Sorry. I just had an emergency here too, so I had to step away for a second. So you're on mute.
I said, hopefully not projectile vomiting.
Yeah, hopefully not. No.
No, I know you're the veteran in that. But, hey, girl. Wow. Again, I can't say, look at that.
ASMR. That's her thing right now. An ASMR board. I told her I would show you before the show wrapped.
Okay. Does Jazzy got 30 seconds? Remember we talked last time? Is she
You got
prepared?
30 seconds? She's not prepared.
Come on, give me a word, Jazzy. Close us out, honey.
Spirit.
What do you mean?
Proud. I don't know. Give me a word.
Okay,
What does spirit mean to you?
Spirit. Believe. Hopeful. And strength.
Oh, I like it.
Thank you, honey. So, Abby, I want you to see that because of the journey that you've been on, look at the fruit that's sitting right next to you.
I know. What a little stinker. I know, but that is, I mean, it's a beautiful realization.
There is fruit next to her.
He meant you, goof.
Oh.
Yeah, and then we just Mark threw up those comments that people are loving Jazzy. Micah, everybody's loving Jazzy. So
That love, girl.
I get the fame.
I just want to say again, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I always love talking about God. I always love talking. I love talking to you, man. And I think that we vibe so well together. We always have. And so thank you for having me on the show again.
Absolutely. And this is the beginning, because we've talked and I'm just waiting on you to settle, get things in order. And then I got some work. We got work to do. So
yes. 2025 is coming. It's coming in full throttle. We got big plans, but we're keeping it hush hush so God doesn't switch it out just yet. Like, calm down, bro. Stop switching so fast.
Yeah, but is that a lesson that you learned in isolation? I've learned to be quiet.
Yeah.
I don't share. Share. Just people will see.
Well, I have learned who I can and can't share with.
Well, I'm talking about publicly, but yeah.
Oh, yes. That's what I mean. Is like, I used to share. I mean, I'm an influencer to some degree, and I take my influence of positivity very seriously. And
So seriously.
And she distracted me. I forgot what I was saying.
You're an influencer and you take it seriously.
I take it. Yeah, I don't know what I was saying other than that. What were you saying?
I got caught up in her too. I love Jazzy though.
It's 9:00 on a Tuesday.
All right. Actually, yeah, we got to go because I know Bella will be coming soon.
Oh yeah, she's gonna come soon and shut us all down at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So
Mark, you can take it out again. Abby, I love you, girl. I
Love
appreciate
you
it.
too. Thank you. And yes, we'll talk more in 2025.
Okay.
Great show. Looking forward to some amazing things in 2025, and definitely a great job, Abby, and all along those lines. You did a great job as always, and all in that space. And by the way, y'all can't talk to me about it being 9 o'clock because I'm in Durham, North Carolina. It's 10 something over here. So y'all, I got
Oh, he's like, I'm way past my bedtime. Yeah.
exactly. And on that note, we'll go out with this note from Mental Health, but another great show. And I look forward to seeing y'all on future shows. I know I'll see Coach G on next week, along with Lauren, who was out today, but hope to
Oh
see you
yeah.
back soon as well. So we'll see y'all
Love
later on.
Lauren.
But definitely love the great conversation and look forward to seeing you back in the near future. But right now, let's get out with Mental Health.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your
Bye.
boy.
You can go ahead and say your boy.
They know who I am. This is your boy, Coach G. And Lauren.
And their special guest, Abigail. And on that note, we'll get on out of here.
If you're watching this with your friends, you'll probably make a joke.
Because you know what you feel on the inside.
Isn't what you want people to know.
If you have to pretend to be happy,
find someone you trust and tell them.
If you get mad at things and you don't know why, or have thoughts about hurting yourself,
Find someone you trust and tell them.
You are never alone when you share.
seriously, people care about you.
It's okay to not understand what you're feeling.
And it's easy to think that you're all alone.
But you don't have to be.
You're never alone when you share.
Don't be ashamed to tell someone you trust what you're feeling.
You're not alone.
You are not alone.
Find someone you trust and tell them.
Tell a parent.
Tell a teacher. Tell a brother or sister.
Or just tell a friend.
You haven't done anything wrong.
Talk to someone.
Talk to someone.
It's how things get better.